The Ukrainian defense forces have cleared the area of Russians. The settlement of Ternovata in the Zaporizhzhia region, the village is under Ukrainian control. This was reported by Andriy Kovalenko, head of the Center for Countering Disinformation. The enemy used their favorite tactic here, infiltration. So a few days ago, an enemy sabotage group, taking advantage of difficult weather conditions, secretly entered the village, according to a statement from the Southern Defense Forces. Ukrainian defense forces also cleared Chuhunivka in the Kharkiv region of Russian occupiers. Several Russians were taken prisoner and the Ukrainian flag was raised there. This was reported on Monday, February 9th by the 16th Army Corps, which also published a video of the combat operation. At the same time, Ukraine may launch a counteroffensive in 2026, but it will not be as large-scale as in 2022. This opinion was expressed by Kirilo Veres in an interview on Radio Karta, hero of Ukraine, commander of the 20th K2 Unmanned Systems Brigade. Veres believes that a more realistic scenario could be the gradual pushing back of the enemy, as well as the creation of a so-called kill zone, that is, a strike zone with a depth of up to 15 to 20 kilometers. Recently, the Russians have been actively redeploying their elite airborne units to the Orikhiv direction in the Zaporizhzhia region. This, in turn, indicates that the enemy has suffered significant losses there, Veres emphasized. A report by the Institute for the Study of War notes signs that Russia is preparing for a new offensive in several directions at once, in southern Ukraine and in the Donbass. Analysts do not rule out that the Kremlin may use its strategic reserves for this, the formation of which has been ongoing since 2025.
Russian military channels claim that a counteroffensive has allegedly begun in the area where the Dnipropetrovsk and Zaporizhzhia regions meet. According to their version, Ukrainian forces are attacking the right flank of the Russian group in the eastern part of the Zaporizhzhia region, advancing from the direction of Pokrovske and Velikomikhaylivka in order to split the Russian Federation's forces and get behind their lines. Here is what political analyst and military expert in Ukraine Kirilo Sazonov had to say about the situation at the junction of the Zaporizhzhia and Dnipropetrovsk regions.
They're being driven out of there. The movement is coming from Pokrovsky, but don't confuse it with the city of Pokrovsk. Indeed, the area is being liberated. The process is underway. The Russians say that the Ukrainian armed forces took advantage of the fog. They cunningly infiltrated their rear, and that's when the Russians were caught off guard. And now, the Ukrainian armed forces are all around them.
According to Sazonov, it's not just favorable weather conditions that are helping the Ukrainian military. The redeployment of Russian forces to the Sloviansk area is also a factor.
Whenever they want to intensify their offensive on Hulyapol or Sloviansk, Russia doesn't have any extra reserves, so they have to take troops from one direction and move them there to reinforce, which in turn weakens their forces here. You know, it's always very similar here. It can be like a domino effect. If things collapse in one place, they'll collapse in others too.
The General Staff has stated that Ukrainian forces are conducting reconnaissance and search operations and clearing actions there, which from a military standpoint do not constitute a counteroffensive. The day before, defense forces liberated the village of Ternovatoye in the Zaporizhzhia direction from Russian troops. Ukrainian defenders recorded a video at the stele of the village of Ternovatoye.
Sometimes Russians post their so-called victories online for just an hour. We are in Ternovatoye and doing our job. Ternovatoye is ours, Ukrainian.
Meanwhile, Ukraine is expecting the arrival of a new batch of French multi-role fighter jets, Mirage 2000. According to a statement from the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, this is the result of negotiations between the head of the department, Mikhailo Fedorov, and the French Minister of the Armed Forces. At the same time, work continues on sending Ukraine a record number of guided aerial bombs, as well as on accelerating the production and delivery of anti-ship missiles.
Friends, very briefly and quickly, there is real hysteria in the Russian media. They're shouting about a major counteroffensive by the armed forces of Ukraine. We are modest people, so we won't talk about anything big. But indeed, at the border of the Dnipropetrovsk and Zaporizhzhia regions, we have gone on the counteroffensive. Just yesterday evening, I posted on Telegram and Facebook, sharing a short video from the guys. The village of Ternovate has been liberated. This morning it was confirmed, but again the Russian media are shouting. There really is an offensive underway. They're being driven out of there. The advance is coming from the direction of Pokrovsky. Don't confuse it with the city of Pokrovsk. Indeed, territories are being liberated. As for the details, maps, videos of what has already been liberated and what the Russian media have acknowledged, and what Ryobki is talking about, I think he's talking about Privolny, but in my opinion, he's jumping the gun a bit. There's no confirmation yet. All the maps, videos, and details are on the Sazonov official Telegram channel or on the Facebook page of Kirilo Pravdorov. The process is ongoing. The Russians say they took advantage of the fog. The armed forces of Ukraine cunningly infiltrated their rear, and then they just blinked, and suddenly the armed forces of Ukraine were all around them. Let's put it this way, they definitely took advantage of the weather conditions, but they also made use of the fact that this Asliandia had shifted some of its personnel from this sector to Sloviansk last week. Yes, it seemed advantageous to them, but as I said, whenever they want to intensify their offensive on Huliaipol or Sloviansk, there are no extra reserves. Russia doesn't have them, so they don't take on new directions. Instead, they transfer someone from their own sector to reinforce, and by doing so, they weaken themselves. Or here, God willing, good luck to the guys, if things start to develop, it's always very much like a domino effect here. If it collapses in one place, it might collapse in others too. We're keeping an eye on how things unfold. I'll say it again, subscribe to Telegram and Facebook. There's not always time for video. Kirill Pravda Rob. On Facebook, the official Telegram season. I'll be glad to see you, and I'll keep you updated. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, said that the leader of China, Xi Jinping, will come to the US. Hey Putin, do you hear that? Xi Jinping is going to the US and he's not afraid. So come on, pack your bags and go to Ukraine. Don't be afraid. By the way, we've already prepared an itinerary for you here. Tours, meetings, interactions with people. I told the guys to sketch it out, so here they did it for me. Uzhhorod, it's warm and beautiful there right now. Despite your shelling, it's plus 10 degrees. Lviv, very educational. Kiev, Bucha. Where to next? I said not to draw a route to the pit, but to make it look like he'll travel all over Ukraine and leave alive. But you drew it just to the pit and that's it? Like he's not going any further. Obviously, he's not going any further. But it should all look as if we're planning to let him go. Redo it.